Welcome to another episode of the Rhode Report. I am Caleb, your host. At the table tonight, we have Mr. Brad Dean and Jason. And then our guest tonight is a Rhode Island construction consultant and inspector. He spent years in the field examining projects, investigating failures, and holding government agencies accountable. He's a civic watchdog who fought for transparency, defended free speech in federal court, and pushed back when officials try to hide the truth from the public. With firsthand experience in infrastructure inspections and a reputation for calling out corruption when he sees it, he's been the leading voice in demanding answers about the Washington Bridge collapse. Welcome to the table, Mr. Rob Cote.
Thanks.
Did I say that right?
Here, guy. Yeah.
Rock and roll. So this is like the hot topic. This is what everybody's talking about right now.
And they've been talking about it for years.
For years, yes.
Finally, maybe coming to a head.
Yes, and we're lucky to have you tonight because you're kind of the guy that got the ball rolling on this whole thing. Am I accurate in saying that?
Well, I've been pretty outspoken on it just because of my background in the business. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are really upset about it, and you get a lot of business owners that have been, hurt financially, changed their lives. Daily you get 98,000 vehicles a day going over that bridge to try to support themselves for the sole purpose of paying taxes and contributing to their community, and they've all been uprooted.
Yeah, and how do you, obviously you don't want to cause mass chaos or scare the population, but that bridge scares me to drive over, personally. Like the other day I took my kid, I went over to go to the go-kart track there. And
Seacock Speedway?
Yeah, and I had to take that bridge. And on the way back, I was like, there ain't no way. I'm not going to go over that bridge. And I went all the way down Pawtucket Ave just to get back home because I was...
Well, I don't think you're alone in that thought. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very concerned.
Yeah.
And rightly so, because the fact of the matter is that the elected officials have not been forthcoming and truthful with us.
Yeah.
So it begs the question in people's minds, when we see them publicly not come forth with the truth, what else can be happening? So people get nervous.
Of course.
And the problem is their silence gives people confidence, or complacency when they don't make a big deal about it, and people think, oh, it's a bridge. There's no way they'd let us drive on that bridge if it was going to fail. But they happen all the time. If you look at Minneapolis, down in Florida, there was one in New Orleans, or not, maybe not in, but around.
Yeah.
These bridge collapses happen all the time.
They do.
And then everyone's like, oh, well, they go back in the records and they knew about it. They're like, oh, well, this report showed this, that report showed that. But they never publicized it, or they treated it like it was a normal occurrence, and it's just part of the decay or the lifespan of a bridge, and it's really not.
No. There's a problem with our politics, right? I mean, just kick the can down the road. It starts with one administration. They're like, we get a couple of years, kick it down to the next one. And there's your lack of transparency, accountability. I mean, everything we've been talking about.
So let's go back. I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning because everybody seems to be talking about the beginning and what happened. But you had a significant role in the beginning, maybe not in shutting the bridge down in the first place, but you played a part. Did you not? Didn't you tell me you were invited to come on a walk? How did that?
Yeah. So when it happened and the bridge was shut down on December 11th, and all hell broke loose, I started talking to some people in the industry, and I was also talking to a lot of people, the media.
Yeah.
Guys like Matt Allen, Tara Granahan. And I had some conversations with Matt Allen from WPRO and Tara, and we spoke about, the reports and where are the reports. And Matt Allen, I think, was very instrumental in getting these reports published. And when the reports were published, I mentioned, as I had shown you guys, that there was some things that took place with the reports that when you take a deep dive into the reports, it becomes concerning from an inspector's point of view. When you have 4 different companies perform inspections on the same structure, and their inspection reports are in the exact same format and the different elements, and the element is the particulars of the bridge, whether it be the drains, the scuppers, the cantilevers or the post-tensioning, in the reports they're referred to as elements. When you see from year to year with 4 different companies, these elements, the narrative is word for word, inclusive of spelling errors. Well, that doesn't happen in the real world with inspectors. Inspectors are very detailed, right? We watch our words. Our words are put forth in accordance with code requirements and so forth. So when I saw...
Yeah, because you can be subpoenaed on them.
Right. When I saw 4 reports that were word for word inclusive of spelling errors, I said, there's no way that these are the original reports. And, as you know, we have a bunch of these reports here on the table.
And we'll post them up. We'll have
And there's 4 different companies doing the inspection.
Well,
right.
3 different companies over 4 different years.
There were 4 in 4 years, right? Yeah. But here's the problem. If, as an inspector, and I own my own inspecting agency, and I'm a consultant for numerous engineering firms, if I go and I perform an inspection, whether it's on a power plant or a ship or a high-rise building, a statically loaded structure or a cyclically loaded structure, and I find defects, I write them up. Well, they don't call in another inspection agency a year later to look at them. They call me back in, they take corrective action. Once the corrective action is completed, I'm called back in to confirm that it has been performed in accordance with the code. So at the end of the day, the item that was previously defective, it either is in accordance with the code or it is not.
Right.
Right. So how do you maintain that continuity of inspection when you have 4 different inspection agencies coming year after year? So the inspection agency that finds, a diaphragm that has a breach in it, that agency doesn't get to come back the following year on the annual inspection to close out the defect. So that's problematic in the system that DOT is currently using.
It's like having your first time inspection every year for 4 years in a row.
So there's another school of thought, though. The other school of thought, though, is more eyes on the bridge, the more things you're going to find. However, it seems like they were giving them the previous report, so they weren't even looking. They were just
Well, that's a
copying
question,
and
yeah.
pasting.
Were they following up from the previous report to see if the stuff that was written up on that report was actually completed?
Well, that works fine, and I understand your analogy if, in fact, the inspectors from each agency are communicating with each other.
Yeah, right.
Right. But I can tell you, when you look at these DOT reports, clearly these are not in the format that they were issued by the inspection agency. They are not. And one of the problems that we have now, and I keep screaming about, is that whether it's the oversight committee or the state of Rhode Island or whoever the agency is that's ultimately going to determine the direction of this bridge, whether it be the lawsuit or the rebuild, the public needs to see the original reports in their original format as they were produced by that inspection firm.
So, first off, are you a structural engineer, or are you just certified for inspections?
No, so I'm a certified welding inspector, CWI under AWS. I'm a certified structural inspector, and I am a certified non-destructive examiner under the American Society of Non-Destructive Testing. So I perform ultrasonic inspection, magnetic particle, penetrant testing. I don't do radiographic examination.
And how long have you been doing this?
32 years.
So I would say that you have some experience.
So I hold 5 federal licenses.
Right.
So like people say, whenever you get into a business, well, I started at the bottom. You've heard that, right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I actually did start at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
I owned a dive shop. I was teaching scuba diving. I had an airplane and a charter boat. I was having a blast. And one of my buddies from the oil field industry said, hey, why don't you come do this inspection shit with us, like, on the off season in the wintertime?
Yeah.
That was, like over 30 years ago. I probably should have killed him then, but I went with it. And so my first thing was underwater in 40 or 50 feet of water in the mud with a hard hat, digging in the mud, exposing steel like at petroleum offloading facilities, in the New England area, then in power plants, then down in Puerto Rico at the Navy base, things of that
Holy
nature.
cow.
And so I kind of enjoyed it because these are real smart guys. And one of the guys who is in the structural industry said, hey, why don't you take all these different classes and I can put you to work in Boston in the off season when you're not, teaching scuba diving and flying airplanes and having fun on your boat. So I went with that and I took a lot of different classes and, they're difficult, but through that period you get educated and so here I am now.
Do you know a guy by the name of John? What's his last name? He's over at the is that Big Red's dive shop in Warwick.
So did you actually, so when you inspect this bridge, you dive under it to look at what's underwater?
John Leglano or something like that. He does the same thing. He's
I don't know him.
Yeah, I was just curious. He
No.
was anyways. So you're very well qualified to have this conversation.
But do you dive?
Yeah, and I have to do continuing education and things of that nature, and I did a lot of work in Boston on high-rise buildings. I've done a lot of bridge inspection. It's challenging. It's stressful at times. I've done ships, power plants, so you're always learning something.
Sure.
And I was I'm grateful that I had some of the best guys in the industry that I was able to learn from that mentored me, and it's been paying the bills for a long time.
So that being said, you going back to where you were, I just wanted to make sure that because I gave your bio at the beginning. I said the little intro, but I feel like that doesn't do justice to what you're really qualified for, and I wanted to make sure that was on the record, that you're not just some guy, you're not just some civic advocate.
No.
You know what I mean?
I've got the federal licenses.
Yes.
I've been doing a while.
That's why I kind of backed up and asked you those questions.
Yeah.
But you said you wanted to see these reports, and that was the first thing that you said, right?
Right.
When you got the reports, when did you see something was kind of fishy?
So immediately.
Can you walk us through that?
I printed all the reports, and interestingly enough, and you guys can show this.
Yeah.
So when the DOT first published the reports, I went and I printed the July 2023 report, and the next day I was speaking about it on the air with one of our local radio personalities.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, this guy from AECOM, his name is on the report, Jeffrey Sam.
Yeah.
Well, immediately, DOT took all the reports down from their website, and then they went and redacted all of the names of the inspectors from all the reports, saved the files, and then re-uploaded them to the DOT website. So the first question I had was, why are you redacting the names of the inspector?
Right.
And the only conclusion is, so nobody knows, so they can't subpoena that guy.
Yeah.
Right? So you put another roadblock in, and you can say, well, that was a draft report, and under the Rhode Island rules of public records access, we don't have to give you that, and we don't have to tell you who the guy was. Hence, the quote unquote, invisible young engineer that found the problem.
Yeah. That's crazy. They're doing everything they can to protect the guys that should have identified this thing or should have made a bigger stink about it. But
well, and if the truth of the matter is that this was the young engineer, thank you, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for finding the problem.
But was he really the guy?
Well, the world will never know.
He must have hopped from 4 different companies with the same exact narrative on the, the element.
Inclusive of the spelling errors.
Word for word.
Inclusive of the spelling errors.
Literally word for word over
From
4 different
2019 to 2023.
With 4 different companies.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
So you went on to the website after that, and you downloaded the last 4 years of inspections.
Correct.
And you started to identify exactly what you just said.
All right, so first I looked at all the narratives because their inspection reports are broken into a narrative and then a photo log, right? So I found problems with both. The narratives, as we spoke, word for word, inclusive of spelling errors year after year after year, not in a formal method that you would see an inspector closing out deficiencies, right? It wasn't in that report format whatsoever. So then when looking at the photo reports, and there's thousands of photos, this was a Herculean task. This was hours and hours of my time looking at it. And one of the things that I noticed was, which you don't see in the inspection industry, when we take photos of typical issues, your picture has a date stamp on it.
Yep.
Right? Well, what I found was in the photo logs.
And that date stamp is from the camera.
From the camera. You can't change that.
Baked onto the image.
Right. It's on the image. So what I found was that on the DOT photo log reports, the date was imported into a text box, right? And it was overlaid on the photo. And in fact, what we had done, we actually had unlocked these reports. And when you right-click on the date, you can actually pull the box off. And how I noticed it when I looked, I said, there's two different size fonts. There's actually a different font and a different size contained within the text box. So we were able to grab the text box
They weren't even smart enough to
and
change
move it. And when we moved it, a different date appeared in the text box. And I have that video.
The actual date.
Well, we don't know what date it was, right?
Well, I'm talking about the date that's baked onto the image.
The date that they have inside the text box. So there was no date on the image itself.
Oh, there wasn't?
No dates on the image. Just inserted into a text box. So why is that a problem? Everyone will say, well, that's how they had to put it in, and they put a little narrative under it. Here's the problem. When you take a photo in an inspection capacity, there's a thing called traceability, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to trace when the time frame was that you took that picture at whatever it was you're looking at. So when you don't have that date on the photo and you insert a text box, as soon as you save that file, you change the dynamics of it. You change the date. So that report is rendered with no traceability. So you take that into a court of law and you argue, well, when was that photo taken? You can't prove it. Nobody can prove when that photo was taken. And especially what I would do if I was the attorney, I would put it up on the screen, grab the text box that said, July 18th, 2023, I would move it, and underneath that comes September 7th, 2022.
So were you able to find the metadata on the image?
No, we weren't able to do that.
You weren't able to do that,
No.
Okay. Interesting.
It's crazy.
Because
So
that usually does it.
typically we have documents that falsified.
They seem forged.
Well, forged.
Well, I don't
I'm
know.
not saying they are.
I don't know if it's forged.
falsified, I guess, but it's not.
I think the format is questionable.
Definitely
right?
gun
Yeah.
theft,
So
that's for sure.
here's what happened. Okay, I'm going to tell you what happened.
Okay.
The original inspection agencies wrote their reports. They sent it in their format. It went into the legal department and the bridge department at DOT, and they plagiarized their reports into their own format, right? So maybe they have done that for the charts that they have on the different elements. I don't have much of a problem with that. However, the original inspection report with the signature of the individual that inspected it should be inclusive with that report so you can reference all of the individual elements and the narrative that the inspector saw and wrote on each element. That's not what you have.
Well, it's kind of fraudulent, and to me, it's fraudulent, and this is why I say it's fraudulent. And of course, this is an opinion show, so I can say why I think things are done. It's fraudulent in the sense that they took, like you said, plagiarized. They took documents that they didn't take. They took pictures that they didn't take, and they hyperimposed their own information on those pictures.
Correct.
So the people writing those reports at was it the DOT, right?
Right.
They had never seen the real images. Or they saw the real images, but they never saw the real thing in front of them. They didn't take the pictures. They didn't go out there and do that.
No, they didn't take the pictures. So the inspection agency, and I've had this conversation in the past, the inspection agency that took these photos, the device that they used, the camera that they used, should have had the date or timestamp on the camera.
Yeah. Should be a requirement.
Right. So when their report was forwarded to DOT, what DOT then had to do was import into a text box the date and whatever narrative it was based upon the narrative that was given to them in the original report from the agency.
But doesn't that? I know I seem hyperfixated on this, and I'm sorry. I'm a little slow, so it takes me some time.
Well, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
If someone did that with my report, I'd be fuming.
Yeah.
And I would immediately
Call
render
them
my
out.
report,
So the images that came from the actual company that did this, they should still have that baked on date on them that they took the image.
right, in the file of the digital photo. You can go to the properties.
Unless you would screenshot it and then send it, and it wouldn't have that. But if
It
you,
would,
if you
because
send
it's-
the photo, it should still have the image on.
Even
If
screenshot.
you're saying baked on like in the 90s.
No, I'm
when
talking
you
about.
said-
He showed us pictures of images that you've taken in the past, and there is a tag
Yeah, you
date
have to put
on
that
the
on.
bottom
You have
of
to.
there.
You have to allow that on your camera.
Yes,
to do it,
and without it, you should not be able to inspect. It's the same thing when you do
Well, no,
court
you
depositions and things like that.
Right,
Like
but
if
at
you're-
any time, like for example, I have an SD card that's got 5,000 photos on it.
Yeah.
If you go to the properties, it will show you the time and the date
Yes.
that
Yeah.
photo was taken.
Correct.
Right,
Unless
and that's
you
what's called
screenshot it.
traceability. Of
course.
So in a court of
The
law,
metadata.
if someone said to me, "When did you take that?" I can show you when you can take it.
Yeah.
When it was taken, right?
Yep.
You can't do that here. So if I was an attorney,
and it's supposed to be uneditable.
right, if I was an attorney for the defendants, right, I would be all over the formatting of these reports because there's no traceability whatsoever in their reports because, and I'm using the word plagiarized, because they've changed the format in which the original inspection agency submitted those reports. That in itself, I can tell you, if I explain that to the judge, the case would be thrown out of court.
Well, you're
I mean,
explaining.
we should be looking at 4 different reports, and they're all very similar in everything.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
The verbiage
even
is
the
exactly
misspelling,
verbiage.
Word for word.
even misspelling.
I mean, at least they do have the bridge condition as poor. They at least got
Okay.
that right.
Well,
But yeah,
don't
your
even know.
traceability, same chain of custody, same thing. Like if,
Same thing, yeah.
You know, in evidence in court of law, if you don't have a chain of custody that nobody has touched this except for, verified medical examiners,
Right.
it gets thrown out.
Tossed.
You know what I mean? You need to figure out where those pictures came from. So and it happens all the time. People don't want to do the job. They don't want to get dirty, and if they're handed the pictures, they'll just do the easiest thing. You know what I mean?
humans.
I mean,
are-
you'd have to subpoena the actual reports from these companies, I would assume.
So listen,
tried that?
you made a point that I'm just reflecting back on. You said, "Hey, you were invited on the bridge." Remember you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that. Let's go there, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, right after Matt Allen and I started talking about the fracture zone
Yeah.
of the connecting rod in span 7, pier 6, cantilever A, I was invited to go out on the bridge,
Yeah.
and this was mid to late January, I think.
Okay.
Don't hold me to the date, but I have photos with the date on them.
Yes.
Invited by who? The state?
But no, not by the state, by somebody on the
Private.
bridge.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I went out there and I was given a tour. I was underneath the bridge. I crawled through the whole bridge. By the way, all the big photo ops that we had with all the politicians, nobody went under the bridge.
Of course not.
No one went under the
course
bridge.
not.
Stood on the bridge, right?
Of course not.
So this particular failed rod, right, which is the key component which shut the bridge down, the connecting rod on span 7, pier 6, cantilever A.
So you said a failed rod.
Fail rod, it broke. That connecting rod holds the cantilevers down, right? The bridge is a post tensioning. If you break the connecting rods, if the post tensioning fails, the bridge fails upwards.
So can you briefly explain what a cantilever is?
So a cantilever is an unbalanced beam, so to speak. So it's connected on one side and it's floating on the other side.
Okay.
That's not an engineering term. That's just simplifying.
It's like a porch on the second floor of your house where 2/3 of the boards are inside the house and 1/3 is hanging out.
Correct. Okay.
And you are
It's
out
unsupported on the outboard side.
I got it.
Okay,
right?
got it.
So I go under there and I get the tour and I'm looking at the connecting rod, which is now gone. Right? So DOT came in. They saw cut the connecting rod off the pier. That rod it was buried in the pier. And in the bottom of the pier, it's buried in cement and has a 12-inch by 12-inch steel plate that's 2 inches thick with bolts on it. That's buried in the concrete. with a nut on the end of it. It's threaded rod, and it's same up above, which is buried in the concrete in the deck. So, and I can't even believe this, right? They saw cut it off the pier, and they left a little stub. And beneath the deck, they excavated the entire thing out of the deck and removed the fracture zone, and then grouted the hole.
Grouted?
They grouted the hole.
Oh, we don't need
Now,
this.
the bridge is coming down, right? We know the bridge is coming down. Why would you make the time and effort to go and grout the hole? Well, how do I know that? I saw it, I photographed it, and those photos are time-stamped. Why did they do that? So the key component which shut this bridge down and caused all the economic chaos in the state of Rhode Island, that key piece of evidence is missing. Now, as you guys know, under the Rhode Island rules of civil proceedings, both the defendants and the plaintiff have equal opportunity to review and examine any piece of evidence.
It's called discoverability, right?
Critical piece of evidence is missing.
Missing.
It's gone. And what's Peter Alviti say? Well, we can't talk about it because of the lawsuit. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right? You can't talk about it. The defendants need to have that so they can do metallurgical examinations, because when you look at it, as someone that's been in this business a long time, the oxide scale on that thing's been broken for 5 years. There's no question in my mind. It's been broken a very, very long time.
Is it on any of those 4 reports?
No.
Of course not.
No. Now, so what's going to happen is you're going to say you're going to blame the inspectors because they didn't make any mention in their reports about the rod. Well, why? Because they didn't have access to the outside of the pier, because there wasn't a catwalk underneath the bridge, so they could get to span 7, pier 6, cantilever A to inspect it. Well, who is responsible for inspection? In any inspection situation, the owner is responsible for what's called free and clear access. If I'm coming to inspect your building, whether it's a school, a high-rise, an office building, I'm the inspector. The owner, which is typically the engineer of record, the owner or the engineer of record, owes me free and clear access. I don't come in there with my own 80-foot boom lift.
That's impossible.
It's on site, and it's available to me at my convenience.
Yeah. So how did you get to see it? Was there something there at the time you went?
Yeah, because what was taking place after the failure and they shut it down, they built a catwalk system underneath there. So because first they thought that maybe they could reinforce the bridge so we could open it up for traffic. So they had to do an analysis. So they had to build this very extensive catwalk system to get underneath the bridge to start installing shoring, right? They had to shore up the bridge. And that's how I was able to get there and see it.
So you went there and you took pictures.
Yeah.
Tell us what you found.
You just did.
Well, I mean, I just did. I found.
Well, I'm talking about.
I found like
you were showing us pictures. That
rotted
holes.
concrete, exposed rebar, rotted rebar. If you look at the pictures,
The holes in the cross members you were saying.
that's another story.
That's what I'm
The
talking-
diaphragms and the beams all rotted out. That should have been repaired a long time
But
ago.
they all looked blue to me. They looked bright blue.
Well, that's
Tell us-
because they were painted, but if you look at the reports in 2023, they were green and rusted and rotted. So what took place was the
painted
DOT
over.
came in, they sandblasted they sandblasted the girder in span 7, and they sandblasted the adjacent diaphragm that had all kinds of holes in it, and then they spray painted it. But when they spray painted it, you had overspray that got trapped in the fracture zone of the broken connecting rod that was bouncing where the cantilever was bouncing. So when you see the speckles of the blue paint in the fracture zone, that gives you a timeline as to when this thing failed.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because this is like.
So
It's like unbelievable.
the reports that have all the identical verbiage, they have different photos. One has a green photo, one has a blue photo. Or is that not in the report?
No, actually, you can see from the, I believe it's the July 2023 report, at that location, you see all the green rotted steel. In the December 8th report, you see the rotted steel, but it's still rotted steel, but now it's painted blue.
With the blue paint in the fracture.
With the blue paint in the fracture zone. of
and the
broken rod.
verbiage is the same exact verbiage as the
No,
previous.
there was no verbiage in the narrative report.
Yeah.
There was cut and paste verbiage or text box verbiage in the photo report. So the photo reports and the narrative are two different reports.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to kind of, you have to read the narrative, pull up the photo report, and you got to do your due diligence to be able to consume what was put out there by the DOT.
So you were telling us before that that you go and you try to explain this to the oversight committees and things of that nature, and it's like explaining it to us. They're lay people like we are.
Yeah.
Right, and
Well,
I
that's why
mean,
I'm
listen,
asking
I
questions.
you don't hold anybody, I don't hold it against it, but the fact of the matter is, the structure itself is complex. The subject matter is complex, right?
Yeah.
We know our politicians; they're not the smartest people that you've met, right? I mean, let's face
No.
it. We got someone in
100%.
Warwick that.
Who said that when you see blue paint, that means they're new products?
Oh, Peter Alviti. Yeah, when you
Peter
see the blue
Alviti.
paint, they're all new bridges. That's a lie. That's an
All
outright
the
lie.
bridges because they're blue.
It's an outright lie.
That's
And
right,
you
because they're all blue now.
And you showed me a picture with this hole that was the size of your head,
Yeah, Atwell's Ave overpass, Route 95. Yeah,
Jeez.
and it's blue.
it's blue. New bridge. That's the bridge that for 10 years or 15 years it was being inspected. They didn't realize that the diaphragms they were not welded to the girders, and the bridge was oscillating. So they brought us in when we were doing the I-Way project. I was brought in to go inspect the welds where they welded the diaphragm to the girder. And when I was up there crawling around, I'm like, yeah, well, what's all this rot? Why are these big holes in the webs of the beams? What's all this rot? What's all this rust? It was sandblasted and sprayed over. Now, I don't know the dynamics of that. I'm not a structural engineer.
Right.
So I don't run calculations. But Peter Alviti said on the air last Monday on the Gene Valicenti show when he was mocking a caller, when you go around and you see those blue bridges, those are all brand new. That's a lie.
Holy shit.
Right? Just like when Peter Alviti said when the bridge failed, he said it was one incident of an overloaded truck that caused this bridge to fail.
Lie.
Right? That was a lie.
that killed
Another
me right
incident.
there.
So we have a blue bridge in Cumberland.
We do.
wonder.
The bridge that crosses from the high school to Tucker Field, it was green, rusted green.
Yes.
And $750,000 later, it's blue. It's
blue.
blue, so it must be brand new.
Well, listen, look,
That's right. I forgot about
The-
that bridge.
they are doing a lot of good work.
Well-
I'm not going to say they're not, okay?
But it makes you question when people like Alviti come out and say that, though. It
Well,
makes
he
you
owns
wonder.
it, right?
Yeah, it's on
He's
him.
the boss.
Yeah.
He owns it, right? So, there's issues where there has not been transparency, where there should be transparency.
Yeah.
And look,
Yeah, but
we
everyone
all know
deals with
going
that.
back for years, the Hummel
Yeah, yeah.
report, right? Where they got the DOT inspector, he was sleeping in his car, they knocked on the door, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
Oh, I'm parked on the job. What do you
Yeah.
mean? You're sleeping,
I was
I remember that. Yeah.
right? Remember
I
that?
remember that.
Yeah.
So listen, in the Apponaug circulator, which is right near my house, I called out a lot of problems, compaction issues, lack of dust mitigation issues. The DOT is not without fault, all right?
Yeah.
I understand they got a lot going on, and it's a very dynamic, moving situation. But in a situation like this where we almost had a catastrophic failure, and then these politicians had the balls to go on the bridge and pat themselves on the back and say, we kept you safe. I don't know if you saw today, they put up signs that said, thank you for your patience, but we kept you safe. Did you see those
Wow.
signs
No
today?
way. No,
I didn't
on
see
the
it.
bridge.
Look, I was a sonar tech on a submarine for 4 years, and if I made a mistake in identifying a contact, that's 130 people on that boat that their life depends on that. So there was no failure. I wasn't allowed to fail. So yeah, I get it. When you're going through the Straits of Hormuz, it is one of the busiest straits you've ever been through, and it's hard to be a sonar tech going through the Straits of Hormuz. So I get that they're busy, but you have thousands, if not millions, of people crossing that bridge every day. There's no excuse to say, "Oh, I'm busy." There's no excuse for it.
But that's what I was getting at before. They redacted the engineer's name.
I know.
Why would you redact the
what does
engineer's
that tell
name on
you?
the bridge,
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the
No,
reports?
What they should have done was
100%.
they should have held somebody accountable because there are
Correct.
so many businesses that are suffering. A friend of mine took a business from Providence, bought a building in East Providence right near the Point Street Bridge. You can see it from right on the water. It's not a business that has anything to do with anything nautical. But he lost 30% of his business when that bridge went down, almost went under. Luckily, he survived, but almost went under because of that bridge. Nobody's helping him,
No.
but they're going to help the people that didn't identify it or that covered it up or that didn't do the inspections. They're going to help those people.
Didn't Lawson just give Velveeta a raise?
Yeah. Yeah, Alvita got a raise.
I mean, how does that make sense?
Well, it's Rhode Island politics.
well, listen,
How
let
do
me give you
reward
another example
failure?
of the Peter Alviti bullshit, right?
Okay, let's
And
do
he's
it.
very good at it too, by the way.
Sounds
Right? You got to
like
give
it.
him credit,
A lot of
right?
practice.
So he almost cried, all right, the first thing, because, I take this so seriously. So
Sounds like it.
last August 27th, I go over the bridge every day. Last August 27th, I'm going over the eastbound bridge
Still? You go over it still?
every day. Yeah.
You're a brave man.
Yeah, today, twice each way.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going over the bridge, and when you get to the end of the eastbound bridge, you hit the expansion joints, and your car gets launched in the air. So I'm looking at this. I said, I've inspected lots of expansion joints. There's something going on here, right? So I took a video of it. I slowed down, and I took a video of it, and I took some still photos. And there was a transverse crack between the expansion joints that was probably 30 feet long. So I made this video, and I sent it to Tara Granahan. I sent it to my buddy Ken Block, and they put it up on the air.
The crack was 30 feet long?
The
or
crack.
Not the joint, the
Holy
crack.
The crack.
Wow.
Yeah, between the two joints,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there's 3 expansion joints. So I spoke with Tara Granahan. I said, look, I'm not an engineer. I'm an inspector. But I think that there's something going on here. Why is there such deflection at the end of that bridge? When you hit it, your car gets launched. And I showed the video. So for 3 days, she called DOT. And DOT just blew her off. On August 30th, I would invite you to go back last year on her podcast and listen to both my podcast with her and Peter Alvidi's. Peter Alvidi just calls into the show unannounced and tears into me and tears into Ken Block saying there's nothing wrong with that bridge. We had to expend all kinds of resources. We had to wake up the engineer who's taking care of a sick family member at 11 o'clock at night. And we went out there, and there was a little tiny pothole about like 12 inches in diameter. And she says, well, what about that crack? Oh, yeah, we've known about that since 2011. But there's nothing wrong with the bridge.
2011.
2 weeks later, they allocate $569,000 to do full depth repairs on the expansion joints because they sent engineers out there, they pulled them up, and they were in a complete state of failure. How do I know? I have the emails. I have the nightly reports. I have all the photos, right? Then the company that they brought in to do the repairs in the expansion joint was going to use the state wanted them to use a project called M-Seal. It's a waterproofing. I've got the emails going back and forth to the state saying it's not applicable at this. You need a full depth repair. It needs to be redoubled, concrete, everything else. State said, just do it as we tell you to do it. They did it. What did Peter Alviti say? There's nothing wrong with those joints. That person doesn't know what he's talking about. He's some self-proclaimed expert. Well, I've never said that in my life. But the fact of the matter is, I identified what I thought was a problem. And what do they tell you? If you see something, say something, right?
something.
I saw something based on my background. I said something. Alviti mocked me. He mocked Ken Block. And then they went into panic mode and went out and spent $569,000 and ripped up the bridge, closed it down, and replaced the expansion joints.
So he said that you are a guy who just thinks he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. The guy with 5 federal licenses, the guy that's been doing this 30 years. That's
Yeah.
what
I got an
Alviti
idea,
said.
though. All you need to do is copy and paste that verbiage right there, and you'll be an expert. You'll be an
Just
expert.
fix the spelling errors.
No, don't, because then they won't recognize it.
Well, I call him Peter Pinocchio
Yeah, that's a good
because every
one.
time his lips move, his nose grows.
Wow.
Yeah, there was no accountability. I mean, we're
So look,
rewarding failure.
here we are now, right? Let's fast forward a bit. So we've just had this leaked forensic report, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The forensic report comes back, and it really states, when you read through it thoroughly, and I know the average layperson is not going to understand it all, right? Because it's very technical, and I have to tell you, there's some aspects of it, that I don't understand the mathematical background of it, and I'll be the first to tell you that because I'm not a PE, right?
You're not a Pinocchio.
Yeah, I'm an inspector, and so when you go through this forensic report, a reasonable person would say, "Wait a minute, this failure is clearly the fault of the DOT for lack of maintenance," and it states right in there. For example, when you go through all these reports, going back to 2016, the reports state the scuppers are clogged. The scuppers are the drains.
Yeah.
It states that the scuppers are clogged and water infiltration is going through the joints. Those joints eroded. Where were those joints? Span 7, Pier 6, Cantilever A. That's where the water infiltration is. The forensic report talks about that in detail. It talks about oxide scaling in the fracture zone due to water infiltration. It talks about chloride degradation in the steel. And one of the things that really struck with me was when they were going through this very technical email exchange back and forth to the DOT, and they talk about the Wiss-Janey report is that the engineers, the forensic guys, are talking to DOT and is saying, you've got chloride degradation, oxide scaling, so forth, so clear evidence of water intrusion, blah, blah, blah. And they talk about the tensile strength of the steel, this particular grade of steel. And the DOT engineer emails them back and says, well, should we be concerned with Bridge 200? Because we've used the same steel. That's the eastbound bridge. So when I read that really struck a nerve with me, because I'm saying, wait a minute. The engineer from DOT is asking the question to the forensic guys, should we be concerned with the eastbound bridge? You're the friggin' engineer.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, you need somebody else to tell you that? So that tells me, are you doing the proper inspection on the eastbound bridge? Are you not performing the proper maintenance, which led us to where we were now on the westbound bridge? So there's a host of variables in these email exchanges, which clearly the average person will have doubts about the integrity of the personnel at DOT.
So before the show, you were explaining the type of people that are there a little bit in their, for the lack of a better word, they didn't want to hold people back. They didn't want to do. You feel comfortable talking about that?
Well, let me say this.
Idea?
I'm sure there's a lot of fine people that work at DOT.
Okay, yeah,
right?
All right.
I think, however, the system is corrupted. I think John Igliozzi is running the show. And this guy is a paranoid schizophrenic that, has his office soundproofed. He's looking over his shoulder all the time. I know that for a fact.
Does he have an enemies list?
And he's the legal team. Right, he's the legal team.
Goodness.
There's no secret that DOT has not been forthcoming and 100% truthful. All right, let's look at if you remember, they had the Zoom meeting. Remember the Zoom meeting where people could call in?
Yes.
And they had the first Zoom meeting, and DOT shut it right down. Right. So the governor now says, well, this is a political issue. I'm on hot water. We're going to have another Zoom meeting and people can call in. So I called in. Right?
Of course you did.
I called in and I had a question. And my question was this. The cantilever rod, the connecting rod that failed in the cantilever Pier 6 is the critical point that shut the bridge down. Under the Rhode Island Rules of Civil Proceedings, both parties have access to that piece of evidence. Where is it? And the answer was, well, we can't talk about that because, it's in the case. And I said, no, Mr. Alviti, that's the wrong answer. The right answer is this particular testing agency took it. It was taken under witness. It was bagged. It was put in a secure container. It was brought to this testing facility. These particular tests are being performed, and when these test results come back, we will release them to the public. That's the right answer.
Yeah, it is.
What's the wrong answer? We can't tell you because we don't know where it is.
Yeah,
why?
talk about it.
Because you destroyed a piece of evidence.
Plead the fifth.
And then
It
remember the bullshit when they shut the bridge down for 28 days because they were bringing in people to take forensic evidence? That never happened.
Never.
I know people that were on the bridge. No one came and took evidence. Nothing. That was a just big bullshit story. Nobody came. Nobody took evidence. And if they did, Where's the evidence?
Where is it? Yeah,
where
exactly.
is it?
So
What'd they take?
So did he really say that was like? Did he really say that it wasn't the talking about the missing evidence that you were just talking about? Did he really say that we can't talk about that because it's missing, or did he say something about investigation?
He said we can't talk about that because it's part of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And listen, before they filed the lawsuit, Matt Allen and I had this conversation that here's what they're going to do. They're going to file a lawsuit, and that's going to be the cover where they can say, hey, we can't talk about it. Now, here's the biggest part. They filed the lawsuit. They had another big dog and pony show with all the politicians standing out there, and they had Max Wistow they hired as the attorney. Max Wistow, he is the most feared trial attorney in the state of Rhode Island. The guy's unbelievable, extremely talented guy. He does not take on cases that he doesn't win. How do I know that? Because I used him in my mother's malpractice suit, okay? Who I was referred to by a surgeon. Max Wistow's the best of the best. Why did he pull out of the case? Interestingly enough, my hypotheses, he saw the forensic report in April of 2024, and he said, I'm here on contingency, right? I'm not going to spend all this time on a case that you're not going to win, because when all the evidence comes out, Rhode Island's not going to win this case. All they're doing is running cover for politicians.
Wait until after the election.
Who are they? Who's the lawsuit
Just like the
against?
town.
Well,
13 defendants, the people that worked on the bridge.
Well, when you put it out to bid and nobody bids on the project, what does that tell you?
So, that's a great point. Let's go back to that.
All right.
Third week of December, when all these reports are out, I went on the Matt Allen show and I said, listen, I don't care what anybody tells you, the bridge is a total tear down and you're looking at 4 years north of $500 million. I don't care what anyone says, they're wrong. Bridge is a total tear down, right? So now what's happening is the governor says, well, we're gonna send this out and we're gonna have engineers come and we're gonna evaluate it. If you remember, Dan McKee said, first he said, we'll have traffic going over that bridge in 90 days. We're gonna fix it. Right?
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was January 2023 or
That's
2024.
more than 90 days.
A couple years ago, yeah.
So what do? So they hire 6 different engineering firms to come do an evaluation on the failure of the bridge. And we're waiting and waiting for the reports. And then all of a sudden, the VN report miraculously gets leaked to the press. I have no idea how that got leaked, but it got leaked to the press. And what did the VN report say? The bridge is a total tear down. So
There goes your 90-day window.
So then on the Gene Valicenti show, they ask Dan McKee, well, this leaked report says the bridge is a total tear down. Dan McKee says, yeah, but we hired 6 engineering firms, and that's only one opinion. So what are you shopping for a good opinion to make yourself look good?
I want the one that helps my narrative out here.
They don't ever put things out to bid anymore, except when the ones that they do don't give them the answer they want.
Right. So what happens after that? Let's look at it chronological. Peter Alviti, he comes out and he says they're going to put out an RFP, right? A request for a proposal on the bridge.
Yep.
Well, I had it that day. That day, I had it. I went through it. I went on the air on WPRO, and I said, no one is going to submit for this RFP. No one's going to do it. And I was asked, well, why, Rob? How come no one's going to put in a proposal? I said, because the RFP, there's too many openings. It's too many things where the potential bidder is going to be liable for things that aren't identified.
Yes.
They're not going to take on that liability. No one is going to answer this RFP. Well, what happened?
Nobody.
No one answered the
answered.
RFP. So then we went and we did this thing that I've never seen in 30 plus years in the business. We sent out an RFI, a request for information. What we did, we sent out a document to all potential bidders that basically said, how can we sweeten up the pot so you'll come and bid on it? When that went out, I read it. I went on the air and I said, now what you're going to get, you're going to get a bid that is it's going to be predatory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to say, well, they can't get anybody, so let's throw $100 million of FU money on it and see
Yep.
what it flies.
100%.
Right? And so if you recall, Dan McKee kept saying, we're going to be building a new bridge for $250 million. I said, no way. North of $500 million, 4 years minimum. If everything goes right, if you don't have a rain day, you're looking at 4 years, $500 million. Well, where are we? We're over $500 million. Well, now they just put up the signs Monday. RIDOT, Washington Bridge replacement, $497 million or $469 million, whatever it is, on time, on budget. Wait a minute. The construction hasn't begun
Hasn't
yet.
even started.
We're still in the demo phase. And by the way, the demo phase is $40 million over what was originally projected and sold to RIDOT. So how are we on time, on budget with the construction when it hasn't begun? So this is another smokescreen, if you
Because
remember.
an election is heating up. That's why we're on
Yeah,
time, on
100%.
budget. An
Well,
election is heating
if you
up.
remember, when Gina Raimondo was here, they were putting up all these roadwork
Yeah,
signs.
yep.
Gina Raimondo,
Yes,
governor, because she was
roadworks.
running again. And then we found out it was illegal to do that, that she couldn't do that because that was like a campaign advertisement, and all those got pulled up. So where's Gina Raimondo today, right? You had,
Where is she?
You had
She's gone.
Cardi, her buddy Cardi Corporation was on that bridge from 2016, did the vast majority of the work. They're not held responsible. Where's Gina Raimondo? She's not held responsible. Are we going to bring in the owner of Cardi and Gina Raimondo and put them under oath at the oversight hearings? Because as far as I'm concerned,
You need to.
the last person I want to hear from is Peter Alviti. I think there's some
we already know he
engineers,
lies.
engineers from AECOM, from Jacobs, from Trans Systems, and from DOT. Those engineers, or the project engineer for DOT, which under the Rhode Island handbook for DOT is ultimately responsible for all aspects of inspection. Let's put those people on, and let's put Gina Raimondo and Steve Cardi on, and let's have a conversation, right? But I don't want to hear from Peter Alviti
I like it.
because he's already shown us that he'll lie, and
Yes.
you know, he'll filibuster. Maybe he'll shed a tear, right? And he's very good at it. But he's the last person I want to hear from because his whole motivation is to cover his ass.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
So there was an article in, I think it was the Projo. Was it
That's
the Projo?
crazy. You're right, though.
Today?
Subpoena them.
That,
They should do that. Bring those people on.
that was written by, was it
Oh,
Sigmund?
and you think that Joe Sacacci is going to call Gina Raimondo in?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
You got a better chance of getting laid in church. Forget it. It's not going to happen.
I mean, if we're going there.
Sorry about that, but
Well,
that's just
Well,
me.
Brad was an altar boy. So.
were you Catholic?
Hey, wait a minute.
No, he's not Catholic. I'm
Sorry. So there was an article, I think it was the Projo, that was written by Sigmund. Do you know Sigmund?
Yeah,
He's
he
guy-
was the original designer of the bridge. He wrote an op-ed.
Did you read that?
Absolutely. He threw DOT right under the bus.
Because DOT was what I'm trying to find the takeaways from that. Like the bridge obviously. So, DOT claims that Sigmund's design was at fault in that article.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm sure whoever the CEO is of Ford Motor Company right now is saying that the first Ford that was built in 1932 was probably, not the best design, right? Things change, So one of the things that most people don't understand. Let me give you some definitions real quick. So,
Right.
in the structural inspection world, there's two types of structures. One's called a statically loaded structure. That's a building, right? Once the building is built, it doesn't move,
it's not moving.
right?
Yep.
And then there's what's called a cyclically loaded structure. That's a structure such as a bridge, right? A cyclically loaded structure goes through cycles of loading and unloading. So when a cyclically loaded structure is built, it's built with a life expectancy. That life expectancy is directly related to the cycles and the load. When you increase the cycles and you increase the load, you decrease the life expectancy of that particular structure. No, and any engineer will tell you that. Any engineer that says no is not telling you the truth, right? So what have we done now with the eastbound bridge?
Put everything on
We've
that.
increased the load.
Yep.
We've doubled the load. Well, not quite doubled the load, but we've increased the load and we've increased the cycles. And we're also increased the time of the load in the cycles.
So we reduce the lifespan.
You
of the
reduce
East
the
Brown
life
Bridge.
expectancy of the bridge.
Even more.
Period. That's anybody that says anything different is just an outright lie. So my guess is that that bridge is going to have to go through some serious maintenance. It's also going to have to go through some monitoring. That structural health monitoring system still is not 100% functioning so far. So they need to fix that. And you know, Casey Jones has done a great job. The engineer that's out of Kansas,
Yes.
fantastic guy.
Yeah, I was watching some of his
Yeah, we
videos.
watched some of his
Yeah,
stuff.
you know, he and I had an opportunity to go out under the bridge. We did some underwater video where, you know, Peter Alviti said they didn't drop anything in the water when they had that catastrophic collapse on the
saw
barge.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Peter Alviti said, well, there was a little bit of debris that went in there. Well, I went out with underwater video with Casey Jones and some other people, and we videotaped 120 tons of debris that was not supposed to be in that river basin. Well, why weren't we supposed to be dropping these gigantic pieces into the river basin? Well, what's in the bottom of the river basin? Contaminants, PCBs, right? All different types of heavy metals. That when you drop a piece that weighs 30 ton,
Kicks it up.
where does it
Kicks
go?
it all up.
Uplift,
Right
and it
up.
goes
Through the
downstream,
river.
right? So, you know,
shellfish and the
Yeah, right,
I'm
exactly.
That's
certainly
why
not
the water
saying
smells
that
funky.
that demolition is a dangerous business, and it's
Sure.
it upheaves everything, right?
Yeah.
But for Peter Alviti to go on the air and say that demo went precisely as it was, when the superintendent of the bridge said, no, it didn't. That's not what it did, right? And when you look at the drawing, right, the specifications of how the demo was supposed to go, you could see the blast pads weren't on the bridge, right? And when it came down, the barge, deflected, and the excavator almost went over the side. The excavator had to sweep off all kinds of debris quickly to balance it so the excavator didn't go over the side.
That's crazy.
Pinocchio.
went
It's a little
perfectly.
cover up. Yeah, it went good though.
Went perfectly.
So what is the fix now?
Well, you know, so now, I mean,
You
they're
wanna
going
take
to
a
move
quick break?
forward.
Let-
We're going
let's-
to spend
let's-
lots of money, and
Let's take a quick break real quick.
When the lights go out or the shelves run bare, most folks panic. Don't be that guy. My Patriot Supply Survival Starter Plan gives you real food, sealed to last 25 years. Toss a kit in the closet or the truck, and you're all set. Get 10% off at preparewithcumberlandunfiltered.com and be ready before the next storm hits.
Welcome back.
People have short attention spans these days.
Yes, that's Brad. Him and his little tiny bladder. We had to give him a little pee break. Anyways, so
we're back again.
we are back, Rob. We really do appreciate you coming out tonight.
Yeah.
No, it's been fun.
This
This
has been very
is-
educational.
This is extremely educational, and this is supposed to be kind of a fun show in a way, sort of. But I'll be honest, I'm having fun, but not like I don't think I've ever felt this
Kind
This-
of disgust
deep disgust that you're. Yes, I don't think I felt this.
with our state.
Just the incompetence is
It-
mind-boggling.
It's
Lack
ridiculous.
of transparency, lack of accountability. I mean, it
Like
touches all the
lies.
boxes.
It's all lies.
Yeah, it's all
Like,
BS.
people look you in the eye and they lie to you, and you know, and
It's all total bullshit.
We've seen the lack of transparency locally in this town in Cumberland, and we've tried to fight. Jason and I, and even Brad, we've tried to fight against the local lack of transparency. But the more that is revealed to us from the state level, I can understand why why Cumberland is the way it is, because it's
Oh yeah.
it's acceptable.
well, you know, in terms of the bridge, why I get pissed off is because for political reasons, you chose to risk people's lives, right?
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, you chose to waste our money in doing so.
My wife works in Providence.
And then you try to justify it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My wife works in Providence, and there are times that she has to cross that bridge. Imagine what are you trying to say?
No. I was just going to say, expound upon what you're talking about with the money that was paid during an election, which We're seeing it again. There's another election that's coming, and like you said earlier, there's a sign on the bridge that says "on time, on budget," when they haven't even started it.
And then what else does it say? Say what else it says. The sign. What else does the sign say?
Oh, this is great today. It says, "Thank you for your patience while we keep you safe." Really?
Until the bridge falls in the water.
But you were saying that the last election or the election before with Gina Raimondo, she actually spent our money to keep that quiet and out of the news, and they didn't pay a company to do nothing, and then gave them a hold harmless agreement.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I guess the point is, so since you didn't ask the question.
Well, I'm
right?
just about to. Like,
sorry.
Well, okay,
into
go ahead.
this.
Let's see which one.
I'm talking about oversight.
Right.
Like, obviously, there has to be some. There's been some oversight hearings, but those have been rubbish.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Well, they didn't have the right people involved.
We've got to have more oversight hearings, or at least another oversight hearing. Tell us,
So
what do we need? Is that the right question?
Yeah. So I think if I was conducting the oversight hearings, or if I had a hand in the responsibility to bring forward oversight hearings about the bridge to the residents, what I would require is, number one, the events that led up to this failure took place under Gina Raimondo. We know that. The documentation shows that Gina Raimondo paid Cardi Corporation millions of dollars for work that they didn't do, that she knew. And then she and Peter Alviti gave them a hold harmless agreement for not doing the work and paying them with our tax dollars. So she needs to be brought in, subpoenaed, and put under oath, as does Cardi, right? The Cardi Corporation, the former Cardi Corporation, the former owner of Cardi Corporation, right? That's number one. Number two is, in my opinion, since the General Assembly lacks the expertise to be able to disseminate the information in the reports and the history of what's taken place from an engineering aspect, they need to hire a professional, an expert, on our behalf.
Like yourself, or
100%.
No, not me. Somebody
Okay.
way above me.
Gotcha.
On our behalf to represent the people,
Of Rhode
not
Island.
to try to protect the politicians that screwed it all up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right? So, Pat Serp is a very nice lady. She's chair of oversight. She has no concept of engineering. She doesn't know the questions to ask. I'm sure she hasn't read the reports. Sure, they all listen to bits and pieces on talk radio, but it's a lot more than that. It's very specific, right? So to protect the residents and the businesses that have been impacted on the east side, it is incumbent upon the people in charge of oversight to hire an expert, to bring in the expert to ask the questions of the people that are going to be brought in to testify under oath. And again, I don't want to hear from Peter Alviti. He's the last person that we should be questioning, because he has a proven track record of lying.
He's already lied.
Right? He's already lied. And all he's going to do is defend himself and his buddy, Steve Cardi, and, the laborers and everybody else, right? This is a management level probe into what caused the failure. And the people that were at the helm at that time was Gina Raimondo and her contractor, Cardi Corporation. And those are the people that should be put under oath. And in the absence of that, we're wasting everybody's time. Don't even watch it. It's a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
And watching it's just going to piss you off.
There won't be any real accountability unless you have those two.
No, and I don't expect that there's going to be accountability.
No.
Because I expect that everyone on the Democratic side is going to come together to shield Gina Raimondo.
100%.
I will bet you my house, my boat, my cars, that they will not even think about bringing in Gina Raimondo, because she has her eyes set on higher office.
That's sad.
And I think in the absence of that, we're wasting everybody's time. But I'll tell you what, I would love to be brought in there, because I can tell you this, I would ask some questions that would tear people's asses apart. without question, and
I
really
would love
really
that in
expose really what took place. But you need somebody, with a much higher understanding of the technical aspects of this bridge, whether it be Wes Janey or a guy like Casey Jones, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
A certified PE geotechnical engineer that's worked on thousands of bridges across the country. Bring him in, right? It'd be worth it. Bring him in to present his case, or for him to, to make his statements on behalf of the residents of Rhode Island of what went wrong, right? We need someone like Casey Jones to protect us, right? To represent us. We don't need an elected official from the General Assembly who knows nothing about engineering concepts to try to, comport himself like an expert and ask these questions that don't get answered.
When do we get accountability? There has not been accountability in a long time, and you get the same shit without it.
Welcome to Rhode Island.
Yeah, no doubt. Can't stand it.
So, subpoena Gina Raimondo.
If Gina Raimondo's not here, you're wasting everybody's time.
Cardi Corporation.
Absolutely.
And
Why haven't they been named? They did all the work.
And an expert.
Yeah, they not in the are they not in the suit?
No.
Because we have a hold harmless
Hold
against
harmless.
Cardi, which
They have a hold harmless?
Yeah. Cardi has a hold harmless agreement.
So
why
that being
would
said,
we-
can they even be subpoenaed?
Sure, you could
Oh, they
subpoena a
can be
bologna
subpoenaed.
sandwich. The problem is the bologna sandwich has to defend itself.
correct.
But if they have a hold harmless agreement,
Well, they can't be held accountable
they
for
can't be
it.
held accountable for it.
No, so if
No,
the
but they
state,
can
if
still
the,
spill the beans, though.
I wanna
no,
know
if the
who's gonna be
state
held
writes a
accountable.
hold harmless agreement to anybody, that means that the state takes full responsibility for their activities or the lack thereof.
So they gave Cardi a hold harmless that would totally implicate and hold the state responsible without having the contractor involved.
yeah, that's correct.
Why would that be? Why would they even give them a hold
Look at the
harmless?
relationship between Peter Alvidi and the Cardi Corporation and Gina Raimondo. There, you got your answer.
Oh, there you go.
And union labor and votes. That's what it's about.
Because
Oh, no doubt,
this
yeah,
happened under
100%.
her watch.
Right.
And McKee is just the dope that got that walked into it.
Yeah, and what's Alvidi doing? He's blaming Dupree and Sunland. They're dead. Blame the dead guy.
Yeah, I just say yeah. there you go.
Or you're going to blame the guy that designed the bridge, who's 90 years old. I don't know, living in Nova Scotia. Blame him.
Yeah.
Who's
'Cause-
Sigmund?
Yeah,
That guy
Sigmund. You're going to blame that guy. The
'Cause-
guy that
'cause-
designed hundreds of bridges.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause it's his
That's
fault-
the guy you want to blame.
Because it's his fault you didn't maintain the structure that he put
Right.
in place.
They're gonna do all that research, blame that guy,
Oh, yeah.
but they're not gonna give you the original reports from all those.
Yeah, we're gonna
4
hide the
years.
reports.
They're gonna
Yeah,
hide
we're
the
gonna hide
reports.
all the reports.
Peter Nerona. And then Peter Nerona, once he finds out that Channel 12 has it, what's he do? I can imagine. Can you imagine him? He's running through the office, screaming and yelling, swearing, dropping F-bombs. Get the report out. Put it out on our website. Put it out on the website. Too
But
late,
redact it.
Peter.
Redact it.
Too late.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You hid the
exactly.
report for 17 months. Why? Oh, by the way, you know what wasn't in the report?
Tell me.
The metallurgical study on the broken rod. Why?
Where is the broken rod?
Why
yeah.
wasn't the results of the testing, the laboratory testing of the broken rod, why wasn't that in the hidden forensic report? Well, when you look at all the emails back and forth to DOT, they suggest not putting certain information into the forensic report. Why would DOT
Really?
reach out to Wes Janey and say, man, we'd rather not have that information in the report? Why were there numerous drafts reports
The missing
co-
rod?
the
of the
cause-
forensic report?
The cause of the shutdown.
Right?
You're talking
There
about
were were several draft reports of the finalized forensic report. Why?
What are you saying?
No, I'm just asking. Was that the same missing rod that you're saying? that-
Yeah, it's the same broken rod, the missing rod. Yeah.
That
Where
would
is
have
the
caused a
rod?
shutdown.
The
So who
strut.
do we-
It's like a strut.
Who do we
Yeah.
speak
If
to
the
directly?
strut does not
Who do
fit,
we talk to
must
directly to
acquit.
demand this?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to look in the camera. I'm going to talk to him.
You have two people that are in charge of the oversight, right?
Yep.
The Senate President and Speaker of the House.
Senate President, Speaker of the House, we demand this oversight.
Under oath.
Under oath, Gina Raimondo, Cardi Corporation,
And an expert on
and an expert that can speak for us because we don't trust any of you to tell us what we're hearing.
Amen.
Too much bullshit.
Anyway. Anything else?
Yeah, I gotta go to the boat. It's time to do some boating. Let's go.
I don't blame you.
The fishing rods are on. Come on,
They just
let's
shut
go.
down tuna season.
Rock and roll. Here's to corrupt state.
They didn't shut down tuna season. They're just not taking tally of tuna season.
So, Rob,
Well, it's funny. NOA. I got a report from NOA today saying they shut down the tuna season. But I'm like, but if you go to the website the other day, it says the whole site's shut down because the government shutdown. I'm like, so which is it?
So Rob, you have a YouTube channel that people or that you like to go on and put on shorts to call out your
Yeah, so in the city of Warwick, there's so much stuff that goes on, and the nonsense, the ditch dodge and hide, the workers driving around all day hiding out, and so
on the job.
when I'm bored at any given time of day, you can find these guys screwing off, and so I'll go bag them, videotape it, and put it on YouTube.
And where do people watch those videos so they
I'll
can
just
get
go to
more of
Rob
this?
Cote YouTube
Rob Cote
or YouTube Rob Cote. I'm not a social media guy. So,
Yeah.
But we get problems in Warwick. I've been fighting that fight for a long time, so I just
Right
make
on.
a video, post it,
I like it.
and heckle the people.
Right on. Well, I'll find it and I'll put the description or the link in our description for you, so
All right.
people can go and watch you. We really appreciate you coming tonight.
Yeah,
this has
this is
been
awesome.
very informative.
Yeah,
Very
Good time.
educational. Yeah.
For our listeners, if you go to Cumberland Unfiltered on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere that you can find content, just find it at Cumberland Unfiltered. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you think about this whole thing.
Let's bring it to a head.
That's a wrap.